the direction we should be going in have helped me. At the time, I didn't feel that way about it. I didn't. I viewed them with contempt, but that's unreasonable of me. They just haven't met the correct circumstances by which they can see that this is the sensible direction that we need to move in. I mean, you've got to think, we're asking for people to shift their worldview nearly on top of its head.
Yeah.
They're so, we've so beaten down. It takes something for someone to actually not fall into that, that comfort zone they want you to fall into, that sort of Brave New World type idea, where they give you all the gadgets and you've got a choice between 25 different breakfast cereals, but only 2 political parties. And people don't look past that. The cognitive dissonance will not allow. Mm-hmm. And so it is frustrating because you're sitting there and I suppose I was naive. I came out of it and after I tested it all to the benchmark that I've tested it, and even now, I haven't been given an original question that I can't really answer. I don't feel, and in a reasonably sufficient way for a while. I don't know whether there's one coming. There probably is, but I haven't been given one, and so you're led to sort of be like, right, well, I get it. Why, everybody's going to get it. Even Peter, I think Joseph has said this at one stage or another when he said, well, I have to confess, I thought I'd come out and go, hey guys, there's this idea, and everybody would sort of not readily go. They'd ask their questions and they'd be a bit hesitant about it, but then they'd be maybe applying themselves towards making a better world and understand the train of thought, and what have you. And he was he kind of realised just how much what sort of beast he was taking on with the culture lag that we're experiencing, and I feel exactly the same. It's like my expectations of reality were obviously unrealistic. And I shouldn't be frustrated by that. There's reasons for it, but it doesn't stop you going, why doesn't anybody get this? But that frustration, as I say to my drum students, because I'm a drum teacher, I say to my drum students all the time, frustration is a product of poor methodological approach. You are approaching it with the wrong method. If you're approaching it with the right one, with the right hypothesis, that is, that stands against the tests of time and what have you, then you probably get the result you want. You're obviously not doing it right. So I'm constantly going, well, why didn't that person understand? Why didn't that person get it? And why didn't that person understand it? And why were they so against the idea? And I'm constantly fishing around that. I'm trying to do something productive with it rather than just go, because that doesn't get you anywhere. It's taken a while to realise that, but that's kind of, I don't know if that answers your question. It was a bit of a rant, really, more than anything else, because
it's cool, man.
It can be quite frustrating. Like I think Ben McLeish said it as once, well, when you look around you and he saw a van go into a car park and, it hit the height barrier, and he said it was then when he realised that nothing fucking fits. I love that. It's kind of like you get given it's like being given a jigsaw where none of the fucking pieces fit together. You've got this great picture, you've got all these separate fields that people know loads about. You've got no system that can put them together because everybody's trying to defend their own field with patents and laws and profit and everything else. And it's like, can we just drop them and put the pieces together, please? Nothing fits, damn it. Nothing fits. I've got fucking 15 chargers for 2 phones, or whatever it is. Yeah. You've got mobile. I mean, just today I was kind of like my missus basically said, "Oh, can you go and get my BlackBerry charger?" And I came down and unplugged the charger from my phone, which is basically nearly identical to plug hers in. And it's little things like that you do every day of your life when you understand this train of thought, where you just go, "Oh, for fuck's sake, nothing fits," and you're plugging it in and you're thinking, "Surely we could have wireless energy by now." And little things like that. There was another moment actually just to share with you as well, just for some of the people who might be more familiar with this.
Yeah, go for it.
Again with Peter, because I went to Vancouver recently to do a talk over there with some of the sort of talking heads, shall we say, of the movement, the Zeitgeist Movement. One of them being Peter Joseph, and we were walking around Vancouver, and We walked underneath this sort of barricade or tunnel they were trying to do over a pavement made out of wood with all these builders. And we walked under there, and I could just tell as we walked under it with these men, with hard hats, and us walking through this building site, basically. And I got that sense that it was like one of us had to say something, and it happened to be Peter, where he just said, you ever just walk around and think, like, why the fuck are we still building shit out of wood?
I can imagine just everyone just looking around, just going, just either being completely dumbfounded or just everyone just pisses themselves laughing.
Yeah, but it was actually just me and Peter, and I was just like, I think my reply was, I was wondering which one of us was first going to say how ridiculous it is. Because one of them was, I think it was that the workman went, "Oh, don't walk yet," and then I've just got to fix this bit. Okay, now walk. And you're thinking, can't we just have 3D printing on an industrial scale and maybe ship houses out and then expand them either with memory metals or something so that you can actually construct a house in 20 minutes, 30 minutes safely with GPS laser guided satellite tracking systems and automated technology. No, we don't. We're gonna get a chisel and a hammer and a saw and do it that way. Now shut the fuck up. Okay, sorry, my fault.
Yeah, because those people want to be back in a few months' time making more money by fixing it.
Yeah, I know. Well, where would we be if we actually built things to last? I love that. It's brilliant. Well, it'd be fucking pandemonium, mate. It'd be terrible.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You get those little moments. You just drive around and you just think you're on the motorway. One move to the left or the right, and I'm dead, and everybody else is, and all their families will cry, and it'll be miserable, and there'll be funerals and people breaking down and everything. And yet, I know exactly what will solve this problem, so that no one ever has to suffer again. And you go up to someone and you're like, they might have even lost someone in a horrific car accident. And you're like, "Oh, I can solve that." And they go, "Yeah, that's great, mate, but what about human nature?"
Oh,
It's just kind of like, do you know what, dude? Right? In fact, I'll just say this. This is maybe this is just my frustration thing. I said this to someone once where I said, look, if you lost your best friend in a car accident, a horrific car accident, and you'd be very upset. 15 years pass and you lose another very, very good friend in a very similar car accident. I said to them, don't you dare shed a tear. Don't you dare. If you did nothing to solve that problem, if you went off and you worked in a completely different field, right, and you did absolutely nothing, or nothing towards the best extent of your knowledge or capabilities to solve that problem, you are not allowed to cry. Okay? You are not allowed.
It's harsh, but it's true.
You did nothing to solve it. How can you possibly do that? It's like burning your hand on an oven and having a little cry, and then 15 minutes later going and holding the fucking thing with the other hand.
And someone goes up to you and says, "Oh, that's a hot oven." And you go, "Yeah, I know." And then you go over to do it again.
If you're not solving a problem in some sort of physically tangible, realistic, empirical sense, in a technological manner with some sort of logical reasoning behind what you're doing, then you're not doing anything. You may as well be farting in the wind.
Exactly. And that's
the frustration, that's where the passion comes from, because you're just kind of you see people engaging in these fruitless pursuits, where their brain's kind of on a loop that doesn't work. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's they just get stuck in some pattern, and that's where the frustration comes from, because then you see them lose their friend in some car accident. In fact, actually, it happened the other day. My sister-in-law was run over. Her foot was broken, and her bone popped out of her leg. It's nasty. She's going to be on crutches for 12 weeks, and people know where I stand on this, and I've said this sort of thing before. So I don't need to say, if I feel like I'll sound like a broken record if I say it again, but you can't help but say, yeah, I know how to solve that. You can't help it. You just kind of it's expected. Everybody else is, oh, it's terrible. And I just turn around and go, it's expected.
Yeah.
That's not a very nice thing to say. And it's like, well, of course it's a nice thing to say. It's truthful. That's like saying, oh, you mean you tried to climb Mount Everest with nothing but a fucking Mars bar and you died? Poor you. You shouldn't have gone up fucking Everest with a Mars bar, you twat. Of course you died.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's a reaction that we tend to get from a lot of people when, because with the information that we have exposed ourselves to and the research that we have done, and thus the things that we know that humanity can do to solve our problems. Yes, to a certain extent, when you first got introduced to this train of thought, just like me, we got overexcited. I do admit that, when I started, talking about the Zeitgeist Movement, I was essentially preaching. Yeah, and a lot of people kept saying to me, "Oh, but you're just preaching, Adam." And I started going, wait a minute, no, I'm not. But at the time I was, because I wasn't necessarily respecting it, because I was getting too overpowered by the frustration of the inherent inefficiency and blatant inhumanity because of the need for profit. I mean, one of the things that I said to one of my friends a few months ago, because I think like the day before I'd seen like this horrific video of a motorway pile-up, and I just thought, in my mind, I kind of like snapped on that emotional level, and I just said to my friend, okay, for the last 100 years or so, we've had the technology to have mobile machines that are now capable of triple and quadruple digit speeds, right? They're made of metal and plastic compounds, and what do? We put an unreliable human being in the position of authority of the operation of that vehicle. How ridiculous is that? It was at one of those times when I was just like having not an optimal day emotionally. And I just started reeling off all these different inefficiencies, and in fact there was a similar thing when I was last megaphoning in Maidstone. I basically made the cancer analogy between the functioning of cancer and how our current system functions, and because of that, one of the guys who was leafleting in the town centre, he came up to me and basically made the argument, don't you think that could be offensive to someone who, suppose, because I think his actual words were, suppose like someone had just found out that a friend of theirs had died from cancer, and you're standing out here shouting on your megaphone, and I said, okay mate, I have to stop you there. I have a megaphone, therefore I do not need to shout. That's one thing, one little thing, one little bit of deliberately negative language that it uses. But I basically said, if using cancer in a public setting is offensive to anyone who possibly has a friend or relative that has either been diagnosed or died of cancer, or if they themselves have recently been diagnosed with cancer, if me saying cancer on a megaphone in a public place, if that is offensive, and if that is, I don't know, maybe a breach of Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986, then we need to send every single charity worker who, collects money for Macmillan Cancer Care or Marie Curie Cancer Care, or find any advertising or marketing company that makes posters for I don't know, cancer research or Macmillan. We need to send all those people to prison for a breach of Section 5. And one thing I didn't actually say to him at the time, because I didn't think about it at the time when he was talking to me, because basically like he walked away, and then I started affirming my side on the megaphone to the public. I said, do you know what offends me even more? The fact that people make money off of people dying in this way. The fact that there are institutions that actually benefit from people's suffering and death. That is more offensive. So don't you think, instead of coming up to someone who's telling you about this, saying that you're offended at them